Hello, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I retired my banner spear recently on my playthrough, and I thought I'd take some time out of playing the scenarios and actually take a little bit of reflection on my recently retired banner spear. I think they'll start a series called The Insane and Deadly, being the +3 difficulty names in both the digital and the tabletop simulator games. And in each of these episodes, I'll talk about one of my retired class, and generally speak to a little bit about what I think about the class, how do I judge it, the card progressions, and so on and so forth. So yeah, today we'll take a look at the banner spear. So here I've lined out actually all of the banner spear summons and banner spear itself, of course. I think the first thing probably to note is banner spear is actually a very summon heavy class. It doesn't normally strike you as that, but when I play the banner spear, I do take a lot of this into account, that you have lots of options, 5 different banners and 4 different summons that you can pull into the game at any point. So banner spear for me is actually a surprisingly good summoner class, and some of the item choices definitely go some way to promote that if you wish to go down that path. Anyway, before we start, let's do a bit of preamble. Of course, with any type of analysis, guide, commentary on the Haven classes, you always have to think about under what circumstances you judge it at, because the game has so many variations. So for me, as a +3 difficulty enthusiast, I'll be solely looking at the game from a +3 difficulty perspective and a 4 players perspective. Obviously, classes like Banner Spear in particular are slightly less effective. Well, maybe that's not quite the right thing to say. Some of the tools in its box definitely becomes less effective. The class is still just as effective in my opinion, but we'll be definitely only looking at this from a 4 players perspective. I'll be thinking about it both from a solo and a genuine multiplayer perspective, because I do play both, even though I only upload the solo episodes. So yeah, definitely, communication is part of the consideration here. And I am a middle-aged gamer. I don't think that's a surprise. Like many of us, we are, not in our primes anymore. So that's part of the the criteria I'll be judging the classes against as well. What does that mean then? Well, on +3 difficulties, the monsters hit harder. They take more hit. If I just flip over to down below, let's take a look at like a simple Algox guard at difficulty 7, and you do ramp up difficulty level very quickly, so you do get to 7 very, very quickly. The Algox guard elite has 47 HP, hit for 7 hit points, so yeah. The monsters definitely hit harder, take more hit, they're immune to more conditions, and they move more hexes, right? And 4 players means there are more of these guys. They're just more of everything. And that does mean, tanking is kind of a thing on +3 4 players, because it's unlikely you are going to be able to kill everything or focus fire even one monster down in a given round. There are many games I've played where, I don't kill anything on the first round, and we're definitely going to be taking hits from the monsters, and they hit hard. So tanking is kind of a thing. So it is actually, I think on lower difficulties you could maybe kill the monsters coming at you rather than tanking, but tanking on +3 difficulty has often been a real aspect of the game that you don't get to lower difficulties. It does mean also there are more rounds to play, right? The monsters have more hit points, you need to do more damage. But like I said, I'm a middle-aged gamer. I don't have that much time. And it does mean that I want to play to the primary objective wherever possible. So I rather win than spending time to replay the scenario to collect treasures or loot, for example. Sometimes for me it is I'm just pretty happy if I can play Frosthaven once a week and get one mission done. It also means I'm pretty conservative in my playstyle. I don't want to take too many gambles and fail the scenario and then have to replay it. And therefore it means that every single piece of tools in the box for the class is up for grabs. Everything needs to be used to be adaptive to the playstyle. +3 difficulty also means you level up quicker, so you do progress your character a lot faster than you would compared to a lower difficulty game because you get more EXP. And it does mean then that some cards might judge them. You'll see that some cards, I think, further out while I'm leveling up because I can get to the next level that much quicker. I don't need to be stuck at level 2 or 3 or 4 for longer. So anyway, this is my preamble. I probably will be doing this every single video. Maybe I'll record this section and pause it and use it for future videos, but here it is. This is the criteria we'll be judging against. What does that mean then? What kind of criteria does those preamble translate into? Well, I'll judge my class by exactly 4 criteria. Ability to kill something, ability to survive, ability to retreat, and ability to escort. Given these 4 criteria are basically the most of the missions are kind of one or the other or a combination of a couple, right? So like I said, I play to primary objective. So I know there are other videos that analyze different things like, entertainment value, whether initiative makes a difference. And initiative does make a difference, but because most scenarios require to do one of these 4 things, I will primarily judge the classes I play based on how effective they are at doing one of these 4 things. So let's talk a little bit about Banner Spear in general first. I know many videos introduce the class mechanism. I guess I should talk a little bit about it in case you don't know anything about the Banner Spear. Banner Spear is kind of in the name, really. You have the banner, you have banner summons that, like these things. They're kind of like an immovable, they're static summons that you can move with your ability, and they provide some kind of aura ability to you and your allies. For example, this one allows you to add +1 damage to one of your attacks each turn within range 2. And the other thing with the banners is these on the top right hand side of the class card is the formation ability, where you need to be in the gray square, your ally need to be in the blue square, and enemies need to be in the red hexes, and this allows you to pull off some payoff attack called formation attacks. The Banner Spear is a 2 complexity character, which I think is seriously misleading. I know another YouTuber, Dinosaurs, has also made this comment that the complexity rating I think is completely out the window here. I think Banner Spear should be like a 4 out of 5 complexity at a minimum, but we can talk about that in a second. It is definitely not a low complexity character. Elemental affinities, we got a bit of wind affinity for the Banner Spear, which is nice. Banner Spear can also generate randomly a couple of other elements, but yeah, definitely a little bit of wind affinities here. And yeah, the rest of the statistics, I don't know, I have my own measure, so I'm not gonna read too much into those. But yeah, that's a basic rundown of the Banner Spear mechanic. So, what do I think about the Banner Spear? Well, I wish actually, rather than having these traits for these characters, like here it says armored, persuasive, resourceful, I rather they actually just listed 3 of the personality types that would be more successful and I guess enjoy playing class like Banner Spear. And having played the Banner Spear myself multiple times and watched some of my friends play the Banner Spear in our 4-player sessions, my conclusion is a Banner Spear is suitable to someone who is a leader type of character. So someone because communication is so important for the Banner Spear, you need to be able to communicate in order to get into a formation to do some kind of damage, because otherwise your turn could just very well be a move 2 or 3 and attack 2 type of turn. So you can't really be an introverted person and play the Banner Spear. If anything, being a leader really helps being a Banner Spear, because you get to lead the party. You get to say, hey guys, right, this turn, let's move over to that corner, and I can set up this formation, I can push these guys out of the way, and you can stand behind me, right? That's the type of person you really want to be playing your Banner Spear in the party. So if you're introverted, you like, to solve your own mini-game puzzle of your class, just figuring stuff out on your own, you don't really want to talk too much, definitely not the type to play the Banner Spear, I would say. In fact, I've actually played a campaign with a few folks, and one of whom played the Banner Spear, and that person really did enjoy the Banner Spear, right? Because the person is not a great communicator, and often you want to do something, you don't really talk enough, and you don't get to do it, and that sucks. And I think that's why the Banner Spear gets so much flack, to be honest. I think the second trait is versatile. I think as a Banner Spear, you have to be versatile. No matter how good your communication is, you often will have situations where the monsters know exactly where you want them to be, or your allies don't exactly step into the right tiles for you to do something, or you miss initiative just by a little bit. I think a successful Banner Spear definitely needs to have versatility in mind. You should be able to play adaptively. You need to be able to say, you know what, it's okay for me to take a turn off, and rather than doing a big payoff damage turn like I thought, to take a turn off, move my team around in a better position, and maybe heal a couple of person, right? Or say, you know what, rather than doing that, I'm gonna drop a summon this turn. Rather than moving and attacking, I'm gonna drop a summon, and that's good enough. So versatility, and having that in mind, not always thinking, oh, I have to every turn produce some explosive payoff with my formation. Sometimes it's okay to just throw a javelin and move a little bit. Which leads me to the final thing. I think for the first two traits to be synergistic and successful in producing an effective Banner Spear, you need to be experienced. You need to be able to know not just on your own class. I think to be successful at the Banner Spear, you actually need to know a lot about what your teams can do, right? What does a Blink Blade want to do? What initiative can a Blink Blade go at? What does your Bone Shaper want to do? Or what initiative the Bone Shaper can go at? What does the monster want to do? Knowing what the likely outcome is, in fact, I think to be a leader, you almost have to be a bit of a backseat pilot sometimes. You have to say, look, guys, right, we got a situation, right? Blink Blade, can you go there and do that? Obviously, you can't say the card name, you can't say numbers for initiatives, but can you do like a lot of attacks very, very quickly and get into that position? Then I can get in front of you, right? That's the level of communication you almost need to be a successful Banner Spear, I find. And that's hard. And that's why I don't think Banner Spear is a too complexity class. It just really isn't. If you are a starting person playing Frosthaven for the first time and you pick up the Banner Spear, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. So, having said that, let's think about Banner Spear in the context of the 4 criteria I talked about. Kill, survive, retreat, and escort. So, kill, I simply means ability to kill monsters. Ability to destroy objectives. Because very often Frosthaven is just a game of, hey, can you kill everything on this board? Killing also has an additional benefit of the fact that if you manage to kill someone, you don't have to take the damage. Although, like I said, on +3 difficulties, especially once you get to level 7 scenario level, it's kind of hard because your characters don't scale as fast as some of the HPs on the monsters do. And as a result, focus fire is super important. And that's where I think Banner Spear is not very good at focus firing. I find Banner Spear, in my view, to be doing mostly things like chip damage, right? I can do some damage. I can't guarantee the kill, but I can put in some damage onto this guy. I can also do, if things line up and people are in the right place, I can do an area of effect attack. Although AoE attacks are not that impressive on +3 difficulty, because, like would you rather do 3 damage to 3 different monsters, or would you rather do 3 damage 3 times to one monster and maybe kill it? That's where I think where Banner Spear falls off compared to like a Blink Blade, especially in some kind of boss scenario. Your AoEs, they're not as important given sometimes there aren't that many monsters to kill. I'm thinking specifically certain scenarios where you have to go up against a single boss monster. The formations, it's not super impressive in those scenarios. But in any case, you don't really want to be in position sometimes to be attacking multiple monsters because, you know, they hit back and they hit hard. So Banner Spear, we'll give their, you know, my rating of the damage is kind of like, well, bit of chip damage, bit of situational AoE here and there. Banner Spear can do good damage, but also the attack modifier deck is kind of random, and we'll talk about that when we look at perks. You still have in your deck -2 and -1, and yes, you do have a decent deck, but sometimes I find when I play the Banner Spear, you know, I want to do 4 damage, I draw a -2, end up doing 2 damage, and it's very disappointing. That unpredictability and the lack of single target focus for the Banner Spear, I think is where I'm going to end up only giving the Banner Spear a 3 out of 5. So, survivability. Survivability wise, and by that I don't just necessarily mean like how many cards and I have in my hand and how many, you know, hits I can take by throwing cards away. I mean genuine ability to take damage, like move in, take damage for the team, heal that damage back up, maybe produce enough shields to take the damage, or through a combination of things like immobilize, disarm, anything that contribute to ability to say, look guys, I can take a couple of hits here, I'm gonna be okay, and I can take a couple of hits next round, or ability to say, guys, don't worry, right? Do your thing, I'm gonna go fast, and those 2 guys are not gonna be a problem this round. That's what I mean by survive, because, you know, all of the things contribute to surviving. So in terms of Banner Spear, I find Banner Spear's best position to be off tank, someone who comes in, take a hit or 2 every cycle, and then retreats back. So not somebody who's consistently on the front line, tanking, taking damage. And you might be thinking, well, Banner Spear has cards allow the Banner Spear to do that, right? And there are definitely cards like Unbreakable Wall, level 1 card that gives you a shield. You know, why can't the Banner Spear tank with this? The problem is, this card reduces your already small hand size from a 10 starting hand to 9. And, you know, I'll talk about this card a bit more when I go through the cards, but definitely the shield one, I think, you know, would have been good if it was a recyclable shield that allows you to drop off without losing your stamina, and one of the unlocked classes definitely do that. It's just like, shield 1 is just not enough on +3 difficulty. You need some more things going on, and there are definitely other cards that later on produces more shield for the Banner Spear. But Banner Spear is just not, the shield 1 is not sufficient to simply lose cards and produce shields like this. And Banner Spear is not very efficient at producing those shields. So later on you do get cards like Hold the Line, right? Where if this was a bottom side action, this would be fantastic. But the fact that you're having to basically sacrifice your own attack to do this, it's not quite good enough. Or cards like Barricade, where yeah, you hit people, but you need to have 2 allies next to you first, and then you grant yourself a shield and your allies a shield. Yes, that's great, but it's quite conditional, and it doesn't hit hard enough for me to really justify the risk of putting my allies in this position. Yeah, sure, you could just be attacking one guy in the 4 hexes, but it's a very roundabout way of getting a shield, whereas classes like Drifter just get 2 shield, or just get a shield, right, by playing persistent abilities. Whereas here, you have to really work for those shields, or if you have to draw them from your attack modifier deck, or you have to draw up, you know, if you want to get 2 shields, right, on the Drifter just plays a card. On the Banner Spear, you have to play I guess, Unbreakable Wall, and let them come. And you've lost 2 cards to do that. Yes, it is true, the Banner Spear genuinely can grant other allies shield as well. And, you know, depending on your party situation, that might be helpful to help you survive. But just strictly speaking, the gimmicky way to go about getting multiple shields on the Banner Spear is really hardcore, actually. I find that there's so many things that needs to be aligned first for the Banner Spear to become a main tank. Sometimes better off to just say, you know what? I have a high hit point pool. I have 26 hit points at level 9. And I don't really need shield to tank. I can just go in and take a couple hits and then come out. And that's good enough, often. The Banner Spear does have summons. Like I said, the Banner Spear has lots of summons. And 2 of them, these guys in particular, are repeatable summons. So my favorite guy, Bob over here, is a repeatable summon. And the birdie is also a repeatable summon. So these guys can tank for you as well. And often that's actually how I find tanking to be for the Banner Spear to be most efficient, is to say, you know, I'm not sacrificing my top up action to just simply produce shields. I am going to just summon a guy. And this guy will disarm somebody effectively later on. And yeah, the Banner Spear actually contributes to the group's tanking through summoning, I find, than just simply being someone with a lot of shields. In fact, I would almost go as far as to say, if you play on +3 difficulties with 4 players, the shield version, the tanking version of Banner Spear is not super effective. On the other hand, Banner Spear has lots of disarm and immobilize. Again, I'll go through them while I go through the cards, but even at level 1, you have one of the simplest way probably to disarm somebody through the top half Rallying Cry. It just requires you to have an ally and complete a relatively easy formation to get a disarm out of the way. So, you know, unlike the shield, which is, you know, you have to do quite a lot of work to get shields, disarming people is incredibly easy. And, you know, you also have things like this, Resolve Courage, that allows you to immobilize. Although I don't often use these cards for that particular purpose of immobilizing someone and running away. But at level 2, you get things like Pinning Charge. And at level 4 you get Boldening Blow, and so on and so forth. And these things are very easy recyclable ways for Banner Spear to continue to produce multiple disarms and immobilize every rest cycle. And in fact, you probably find the Banner Spear to be much better at surviving through disarm and immobilizing than just simply taking hits. And yes, on higher difficulty levels, enemies are more immune to such things, immobilize and disarm. And sometimes you'll find, well, I'm facing a group of people where this doesn't really work. But that's what I mean by playing to every tools in the box. You can switch things around. And the Banner Spear's versatility allows you to do that. And finally, I think Banner Spear is one of the better classes at producing regenerate healing. So at level 1 you have cards like Regroup, which allows you to tag on a regen. Meat Grinder gives you a regen as well, and Bowstring Shout, which also produces regen or 2 regens. So regenerate is really good because not only you get to heal immediately, right, in the same round that you used it, hopefully, if you went before your allies. It also means that in subsequent rounds, so long as your allies are not taking hits, they can continue to regen health. And it pairs really well with someone like Drifter, who has the ability to turn that heal 1 into heal 3. So regenerate healing, even though it isn't direct tanking, it does mean that if you have that in your party, it allows for somebody like the Deathwalker, for example, to go up and take a hit and fall back, for you to slap a regen on this guy, and then the Deathwalker can regenerate over the next rest cycle and hopefully go in and tank another hit in a round or 2. So all of that contribute to say, I think the Banner Spear is pretty good actually at ensuring survival of the team, right? Because the objective, remember, is not simply you survive, it's actually, hey, can the whole team survive in this scenario? And I think the Banner Spear is pretty good. So I think here I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 for survivability. Banner Spear is one of the better classes, not through direct tanking, but through a whole range of tools in your box to ensure the team survives. Right, what about retreat? So retreat, by retreat I mean, hey, can we run away into escape tile? And that's often the scenarios you have to face. The Banner Spear is a bit of a funny class for retreating type of scenarios. At level 1, you have 2 move 4 cards. Set for the Charge at initiative 6, and Tip of the Spear at initiative 67. So having those cards seem to be a pretty good position for the Banner Spear to be, and especially ones at initiative 6. The problem is, other than those 2 cards, you don't have a lot of moves. So Combined Effort is a move 2. Pincer is move 1. I mean, that would be move 2 if you're really trying to run away. You know, everything else is a move 2. And as you level up, yeah, you get a move 3 here, a move 4 there. If you really wanted to, you can be a move 3 here again. You can have a lot of move you want to, but often, the problem is often these cards are awkwardly situated for what you want to pick up. You don't really want to pick up multiple of these, and in fact, if you're really going for moves, like a move 4 is good enough. What you really want maybe is like a move 3 jump, right? Like currently you don't have that at all, and as you level up you find, well actually, I have either, it's a feast or famine situation for the Banner Spear. It's mostly either like a big move or no move at all, or just a move 2 for me. So you often have to contend with, I think rather than somebody like Bling Blade is a good example, where you have good moves on bottom, but you also on the top you also have attack move, or attack move. The Banner Spear has to really rely on 1 or 2 move 4 cards, because you just don't want to take that many move 4s into a hand. I mean, even for escape scenarios, it's kind of like, well, if I only take my move 4s, just all move 4s, I end up with a bit of an awkward situation. So I think it's a bit of feast or famine situation. You don't have jump, you don't have teleport, you don't have top half moves at all, and you have other move 4s, but you know, I often find these 2s are good enough actually. You kind of want to, I'll talk a little bit about leveling up in a bit. You often find just, hey, you know what, I don't want to take cards like Head of the Hammer actually. I prefer to take some other cards, such that you end up with, most of the time, a couple, maybe 3 move 4s in your hand, and you have to be a bit selective about when you use them, especially given your 10 card hand size, right? After 1 round cycle, you're down to 9. If you play the Summon or Banner, you're down to 8, and very quickly you are sacrificing between actual attacking efficiency versus just ability to move. So I think having move 4 at 6 initiative is great. No jump, it's kind of sad. I mean, you can compensate that with the jump boots, but definitely Banner Spear is not one of the best at retreating. I'll give Banner Spear a 3-star compared to like somebody like Bling Blade, who you just know Bling Blade can traverse 10 hexes in 1 turn if it wanted to, whereas you never really have that option with the Banner Spear. With Banner Spear is more of a steady character, I say, when it comes to movement. It is often just, hey, I move 2 or I move 4, and I have a choice about the speed I move at, but that's really it. No fancy stuff here. Finally, Escort. Escort, what do I mean by that? There are many missions in Frosthaven where you require to escort an individual, an ally, to somewhere, or you need to protect this person and kill everybody else. So when it comes to escort, I think about things like, hey, can I help my ally move? Can I direct my ally to move somewhere rather than having the AI moving the ally around? And can I keep the ally alive? Can I ward it, heal it, set a regen on it, move it back, move it forward, take a hit in front of the ally instead of the ally taking a hit somehow, you know, that type of thing. And I would say Banner Spear, sorry, well, I don't know why I say Bling Blade there. Bling Blade does have an ally move card too. Banner Spear is probably one of the best characters at escort missions. There are so many tools in the box, which I'll talk about imminently. Cards like At All Cost, cards like Combined Effort, cards like Pinning Charge, bottom half Boldening Blow, Hold the Line. There's so many good cards bolstering Shout. There's just tons and tons and tons of cards that allows you to manipulate your ally movement, make the ally move faster, make the ally moves out of his own turn, healing up the ally with almost very little drawback for yourself. Escort missions, I think, is where the banner shines. So much so that when I play my 4-player campaign, non-solo games, often when there's a banner spear in the party, the whole party is asking the banner spear, hey, can you move me here? Can you move me here this round so I can do a top and bottom action where it's not move. I can just do my thing and make my class shine. The banner spear is absolutely amazing at escorting and supporting the team in ways of healing and team movement. So there's my rather long-winded way of summarizing the banner spear, but I think next let's take a look at banner spear's cards. So having all of those things in mind, let's look at the first 2 cards, which are the 2 summon level 1 cards for the banner spear. Now, I think within the level 1 set of cards, and the 2, you have my favorite card of at all costs and my least favorite card, which is Incendiary Throw. So let's start with at all cost. I think if this card was printed for just a neutral card that every class could elect to take, I would imagine a lot of class would take this card at level 1 and may even carry it forward. That's how good I think this card is. So why is that? This card is not very impressive from initiative perspective, but I think this card really embodies for me what it is that makes a banner spear the banner spear. It's not the banner or the spear, funnily enough. It's this ability to be versatile. So what I mean by that, at all cost top half allows you to heal 3 HP on all allies. You don't need range. You do need the line of sight. But it just means that you can use this to heal anybody in the same room as you, more or less. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter where they are. And yeah, 3 HP for the allies, 1 damage for you when you heal somebody. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Even in the very first mission on +3 difficulty, very hard to keep the city guards alive. Well, don't worry. Auto cost sorts you out. And I guess this leans into my playstyle of the banner spear, which is a style where I like I said, to go in off tank, come out, heal up, throw some javelins, going off tank again, and often I have hit point as a resource that I can afford to play this card. And every time I play it, I don't regret it. When you have 4 players and you can just heal your allies for 9 hit points at the cost of 3 of your own, that's great. When the allies are poisoned or wounded or brittle or banged, this takes it off. And 60 initiative is pretty good for this ability. You can either use it to pair with a fast initiative card to heal somebody and move at the same time, right? So if you paired it with like a move 4, you can heal up your team and maybe put yourself in position to take a hit. So if your team is really on the verge of losing cards, that combo sorts you out, no problem. Alternatively, pair with something like a javelin. You can, right? You can choose to say, you know what? Maybe I go a little bit fast so that I can get away with maybe doing a little move and healing my team. Or if things go wrong, right, where, I don't need to heal my team anymore at the end of when it comes to my turn, I can summon Bob. Summon the reinforcement, and Bob is super useful. Bob is often MVP simply because it is just 1 hit point, 2 move, not very impressive, but because you can control the movement of this summon, you can put Bob in very, very good positions to not just simply act as like any other summon, to act as a delayed disarm on one enemy. You can put Bob, you can be like, look, I need to run to that escape tile. Bob, you run the other way. You distract the enemy. And, if the enemy is like moving towards Bob instead of moving towards your party, and then has to spend time to move back towards you. Bearing in mind on +3, the enemies move very, very far because their movement value is higher. This could really make the difference between the party getting out or not. And Bob's also very good against the Unfettered, where the Ruining Machines will attack and then explode. Bob can easily, I've seen this multiple times, tank the hit and then tank the explosion. This is why I think, this card is versatility in a single card. I don't mind initiative. Sometimes with these abilities, it's okay to play 60. Because I sometimes don't want Bob to come out and just take a hit right away. I want Bob to survive one round and then I can reposition Bob to do something else. 60 is perfect. 60 is kind of like saying, I'm not quite sure. And I'd rather be flexible and observe the battlefield and figure stuff out than go fast or slow and make a decisive action. And I think that is exactly what I mean by versatility. The ability to say, I know enough about the monsters that things not going to go catastrophically wrong, so I can go a bit slower and observe my team, observe the monsters, and then make a decision on what the best call is. And that is a leadership, versatile Banner Spear in a nutshell right there. So I love this card. I love Bob. I love healing my allies. And I love exploiting my vast hit point pool as a resource. One of my favorite cards at level 1. Then you have one of my least favorite card at level 1 in Incendiary Throw. Not that I don't like this card. I actually do use this card time and again, especially early on in the level for Banner Spear. I think the only reason I really dislike this card is because the bottom side is, I feel like, a bit of a missed opportunity. The Torchbearer is hit point 5, 2 move, 1 attack, wound, 2 EXP. But the problem compared Torchbearer to Bob, his Bob is repeatable, whereas the Torchbearer is not. And I really wish the Torchbearer was repeatable. Like, if this was simply like, I don't know, 1 hit point, 2 move, 0 attack, wound, repeatable summon at 1 EXP, I think this card would be much, much better. But maybe the point isn't to make Banner Spear not a summon class, even though the Banner Spear theoretically has tons of summons. Yeah, I don't know. I wish this card was just better balanced. The way it stands, the bottom half of this card is just 2 EXP. At the end of the scenario. That is it. And that's sad. And it doesn't play well into the style I like to play, which is this versatile Banner Spear that I can make decisions about top half of the card and bottom half of the card. And I guess in a way, that is one of the best things about the Haven game, is that you can make that decision. You can crisscross. And I often find when playing with other people, when you sometimes think about a plan or strategy of attack and then you switch halfway through once you've seen the cards, it's actually one of the most satisfying results when you play the Haven games, to feel like, you know what, I can just flip things around. You can almost never do that with this card because the bottom half is not usable. And for me, for a 10 card hand size class, anytime I can't really use the bottom half of the card means this card is not going to be good. So unfortunately, this is my judgment on Incendiary Throw. I've never found the bottom half to be good, therefore I don't find the card to be good. Now, having said that, the top half has its uses. Attack 1 at range 3 if the target suffers damage. The target and all enemies adjacent to you gain wound, generate fire. The fire element has some uses. Some of your allies, especially the starting 6, do use fire. I'm generally not gonna talk about unlocked classes, just because I don't want to put another spoiler attack here. But yeah, the fire has its uses. The top half is actually okay. I often find that I want to do this at the very beginning of the scenario. You do take a bit of a risk, especially with Banner Spear's attack modifier deck. Attack 1 having to do damage. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but you could pair up with the bottom half of Rallying Cry to give you extra strength, right? So you could do both of these on the first round. Then this is attack 2. And then maybe with like a Spyglass, you're much more likely to do damage than not. And then that becomes really a 3 damage attack, right? Because you probably have gone first before the enemy. and making enemies suffer wound damage right off the get-go is pretty good. Blink Blade also has a card that makes all wounded enemies suffer too, although Blink Blade is probably not the best way to spend Blink Blade's turn, so theoretically this could be a big combo with Blink Blade. In reality, I've never found any Blink Blade wanting to do that. But still, attack 3 at range 3 with wounding to maybe a couple of enemies next to the target is a pretty solid result. And it's a pretty good opener, I find, for the Banner Spear if you're doing something like Incendiary Throw plus bottom half a Rallying Cry. I think the problem once again goes back to what I was talking about the damage for Banner Spear. It's this unpredictable attack modifier deck. Which we'll talk about in a second, but I think if Banner Spear was able to remove -2 completely from its deck, this card will actually go up in value. I mean, I think there's many ways, like I said, to make this card go up in value, but I think one big problem with the Banner Spear is you can't easily get rid of the -2, and if you have to boost this card and then you still risk a chance to draw a -2 or miss, and the fact that you have another -1 that you can't get rid of through the perk sheet. So there are 3 cards out of your deck that basically can wreck this play, and if this play does nothing, it's a pretty bad play compared to the other opening options you have. Make this card go down in value. But having said that, I do take it early on. I think the fact that having a range 3 attacks it's a pretty good option for the Banner Spear to have because, like I said, often I'm off-tanking and often I want to be in a position where I'm kind of close to the front line but not right at the front. And having a range of options is great. And I think Banner Spear in general plays into that style because, right, if you're summoning banners, you want to be able to move your banner along with you, rather than always you moving. And I think that leans into it of something like playing cards like Regroup, playing cards like bottom half of Pinning Charge, right? Granting an ally move and doing a range attack is kind of like a good sweet spot to be, where you don't see the opportunity to see a payoff formational attack. And having a range attack earlier on, when you have less options, Incendiary Throw can definitely come in here and now. And again. So let's look at the next 2 cards. So next 2 cards are your banner summons at level 1. The Rallying Cry is definitely the stronger of the 2 in my opinion. It's definitely better to be doing more damage than healing in +3 difficulty, especially, you know, theoretically it could feel like it's the same, right? It's like, oh, 1 less damage received from the enemy effectively through healing, or 1 attack to the enemy every round. Feels kind of similar, but in reality, you have to take hit before you get healed. And the downside with playing on higher level difficulties is they hit so hard that you sometimes think about, like, you know, shield is clearly going to be better because that prevents the damage in the first place. If you take too many hits, you always run the risk of having to lose cards, in which case healing afterwards is not a big deal because you already lost the card and you're not taking any damage. Whereas doing damage on your end is always guaranteed the result, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way, right? There's always a good target to do damage against in a fight, versus is there always a good target to heal 1? Sometimes no, sometimes yes. Sometimes heal 1 makes no difference. Sometimes heal 1 removes brittle, and that's great. But between these 2 banners, Banner of Strength inevitably just does more work by the sheer weight of the Frosthaven mechanic versus Banner of Hope. But I think this card is very well designed, because if you do decide to play Banner of Strength, which you know, grants all allies within range 2/1, so even summons, and Bone Shaper in particular benefits a lot from this if Bone Shaper is running the skeleton build, or even the Wraith will get a huge amount of benefit out of this. The top half is also a very good card because, like I said, simple formation, 3 damage, disarm 1 XP. It's great. So you often are a little bit of a loss as to whether you should be running the bottom half or the top half. I think a rule of thumb for me is if it is a fairly static 1 rooms, 2 room scenario, Band of Strength is pretty good for the party because you have at least 4 players who most likely all benefit from this one way or another. Whereas top half, you know, yeah, 3 damage is falls off pretty rapidly against like a like a 47 HP Algox guard. And also some enemies just immune to disarm. So both sides of this card is good. It's sort of a little bit of a longevity situation sometimes when you think about when to play this card, especially for a level 10 for a 10 cards hand size class. Playing a summon ability, permanent summon ability like Band of Strength on in the first rest cycle is good because you go down to 9, then you lose a card, you go down to 8, then you're not really affected for the next time when you play, right? You still have 4 rounds. So yeah, Band of Strength consistently is an early summon for me, or if I think it's better to have slightly longer longevity, opening up with the Rallying Cry, disabling that first scary enemy in the room, and often the very beginning of the scenario where you're in a room spawning against up like 3 or 4 enemies who's ready to hit you, like just opening up with Rallying Cry instantly takes like 33 to 25% of the damage source from the team. It's a pretty great opening. Both sides great. It's just whether you want to open more defensive or offensive. I guess the other thing to say about the banner is there are many multi-target enemies in Frosthaven that makes the banners sometimes just not the right thing to do, right? Because you don't want to summon a banner, drag it around only to get this for it to be destroyed immediately when you like come in contact with enemy. I'm thinking about enemies like robotic bow shooters in particular, where you just do not want to be summoning any banners. Shirker is also another one of those scary enemies that just does multi-target attack consistently, and your banner will just go down if it gets anywhere near that thing. So yeah, the banner does get a little bit disadvantaged on higher level difficulties because enemies hit harder, and they move more hexes towards you, so they get to you quicker. That makes it difficult to sustain a banner against a multi-target enemy. Looking at Driving Inspiration then, the Banner of Hope allows you to heal for 1 within range 3 of all allies at the start of their turn. Pretty good if you are up against like poison heavy scenario, in particular Banner Spear's solo scenario is where this banner really shines. But unfortunately that's just not something that happens a lot. You just don't have, like, very often I don't have a situation where like all of my allies are all getting hit every round such that they all need healing, whereas inevitably all of your allies are all doing some kind of attack every round. So putting down the Band of Strength actually helps your ally to focus on being a certain radius to attack, whereas Band of Hope, most often people not playing around this range 3 to get a heal 1. It is helpful. I think if Banner Spear was like a 11 or 12 card hand size class, you will inevitably summon this banner because it's pretty helpful to have. Because I think one of the downside design for the banner, I understand why, Banner Spear is a great class, but I think one of the downside to the Banner Spear is you kind of want to summon banners, but your stamina doesn't let you do that on +3 difficulty because the game lasts a lot longer. And if every banner you put down, you lose stamina as a result. Top half of Driving Inspiration, attack 2, range 4 with advantage. It's just attack 2, it's just the base attack, but I love this. Range 4 just gives you so much more versatility on where you could be. Again, my style of Banner Spear is a bit of an off-tank, in and out type of Banner Spear, and yeah, the ability to, this is the other, actually these 2 cards make a great opener at earlier level for me. So instead of doing like Incendiary Throw, very often my opening is Banner of Strength plus Driving Inspiration. So that, and I will often just go slow with this opening. putting a banner down, attack 3, range 4 advantage, often means that'll be actually a attack 4, generate light. A perfect result, perfect opening. And then in my first rest cycle, I can throw away Driving Inspiration guilt-free. Because you just hopefully end up doing more things, more useful things. But the fact that you can put on a banner, attack pretty much anyone in the room right away with a pretty good attack, a decent attack. Yeah. Driving Inspiration, I think the top half is slightly overlooked by some people and is pretty good. So, if attack 2 is good, why isn't attack 3 good? And the answer is Javelin is a really good card. I actually take Javelin to almost every single scenario I play with the Banner Spear. Just like, whereas at all cost, I think there's certain scenarios we just definitely don't need this card. Javelin is just a workhorse, just the quiet guy that sits in the corner and gets the job done type of card. Attack 3, range 3, generate wind. Pretty basic. Certainly other classes gonna have cards better than this, but attack 3, range 3, totally fine. Absolutely fine. And if you combine with a immobilization net item, this gives you another opportunity to immobilize something. Great. Wonderful opening attack. Setting up wind immediately for you to use, or for your allies to use for the next round. Great. Initiative 21. Not the fastest. Doesn't beat the Algox Archer. But it's good enough most of the time. So yeah, this card, I like everything the top half says. And then we look in the bottom half, I like everything the bottom half says too. Move 1, not very impressive, but pulling somebody in for 2 at range 3 is great. This card allows you to, again, be versatile, which is one of the characteristics of the Banner Spear that I really value. Because you're not Drifter or Blinkblade where you are just wanting to do one thing every round, right? This card says, you know what, I can sit back and figure it out. I can make a decision. And this card, you can pair it in so many different ways to do that, right? You can pair like this and this, for example. Rallying Cry and Javelin. You can say, you know what, I can either drop a banner, throw a Javelin, attack 4, range 3, great, generate wind, or I can move 1, right, drag somebody in. Simple situation might be like, you guys start. Oops. You know, you start here, your allies start over there, something like that. You have an enemy. Right, maybe something like this. You can go, I'm gonna go here, something like that. I'm gonna go here, and drag this guy in, disarm that guy, does an attack. Perfect. The fact that you can say, I can combo this card with some cards like this and get both half done, depending on the situation, is just great. That's a great opening. You can combine these cards with cards like Boldening Blow. Very often you'll be starting your mission, right, with you and your allies all clumped up. Maybe something like this. And you can say, do you know what? I'm gonna move in with Javelin, put this guy in, immediately does my Boldening Blow and disarm this guy. Put 2 blesses in enemy's deck, and I'm going at initiative 21, which is most often good enough to, with a bit of communication, beat your allies and beat the monsters. Absolutely amazing. And I think I value the versatility simply because if you have to set up formation attack like Boldening Blow, like, you know, if you want to play this card for the top half and you don't put it off, it is devastating because all of a sudden you go from attack 4, disarm 1 guy, bless 2 allies to attack 2 or doing nothing, worst case scenario. I think that's a pretty big swing, and I value the fact that with cards like Javelin, you can minimize the level of communication you need and minimize the level of pre-knowledge your teammate needs for the formation to get pulled off, right? If you imagine you are simply doing something like a move 4, and then you need to say, do you know what, guys, right? Like, you guys are here already. This is a perfect situation for me to step into here and just do this attack, right? Yes, you can do it with cards like, you can probably do it with cards like set for the charge, but if you were to do something with cards like maybe like combined effort, the initiative then makes it very scary to say, oh, by the time this happened, this guy hasn't already moved to here. Or like, if you're doing something like, you know, like this, regroup, saying, look, I'm next to the guys, I'm gonna move you guys in, but maybe by the time you've done that, this guy's already stepped away, and you can't do that anymore. This is what I mean about Javelin, because Javelin allows you to say, do you know what? We can roughly be in the area, as long as two guys are standing next to each other, I can move in and pull. And like I said, inevitably, when you start the scenario, we're always in that position. So I think that's what makes Javelin so great. Remember, I'm a middle-aged gamer, I don't have a lot of time. And anything that simplifies the communication, anything that simplifies the analysis paralysis for the group, for me to say, guys, I'm putting down a relatively fast card to get this guy dragged into our shape. So long as you guys go a bit slower, stay put, I'll get it done. And the payoff is this guy won't attack us and you guys will get blessed. That's a great result. And Javelin is just a critical piece of that puzzle. Speaking of positioning, at level 1 you have 2 cards that allows you to reposition yourself, your allies, and their combined efforts and regroup. So let's talk about the bottom half first. Combined effort, fantastic card. Move 2 is not impressive, but you can grant your 2 allies within range 2 to move to. Again, this type of scenario is kind of what you're aiming for. Something like this. Do your formation attack. Perfect. You know, something like this. Do your formation attack. Perfect. So I actually think combined effort is surprisingly really good for the bottom half, even though it doesn't look very impressive. I guess the only restricting factor is you can only move allies within range 2. If that was range 3, I guess this card would be kind of crazy. But range 2 is often good enough in a 4-player game. I think if you're playing 3 players or 2 players, you're maybe a little bit further apart from each other, and this doesn't definitely get the payoff that you want, especially when you're in 2 players. You don't have 2 allies. You and the other guy are basically people there, unless you have summons. But in a 4-player, I find combined effort just does the job, get you in the formation you need. As a result, I don't often play the top half of combined effort. I think there are better things to do than attacking 3 and wounding. Especially, again, I think I've said this over and over again, I don't want to end my turn not having killed, immobilized, disarmed, stunned this guy. I don't want to simply go up to him and hit him for 3 and wound him, which probably means 4 damage, when he can easily hit me back for 7. That's not a good trade, especially we have less HP than our enemies. So part of Frosthaven's sort of on hard difficulty is trading the HPs more effectively. You only trade it when you have to, not simply approaching enemy and saying, look, you have a choice of hitting either me or my ally depending on initiative, and all I'm gonna do to you is 4 damage. Not good enough. So I take combined effort. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes situation arises that, hey, this is good enough to finish off the enemy. But yeah, often or not, combined effort is the bottom action I care about. And again, I'm not focusing too much on initiative. I think you can pair this with a faster card if you want to. But if anything, combined effort is kind of a card you want to play at 30 initiative anyway. It's kind of a card where you probably anticipating some enemy movement towards you, then you can go in and set this up. And equally, you don't mind going in faster to set up for cards like Let Them Come or Bolden Blow, so you're disarming or you poison enemy before the enemy attacks you. So if you have to play a 32, I often find it's not the worst thing in the world. Regroup is a card I use earlier on in the life cycle of the Banner Spear, simply because you do not have any other cards level 1 that helps you move your banners. And if you're going to be playing your banner, and I think you should early on, you're going to have to take this, unfortunately. Fortunately, it's not a bad card. Initiative is okay. 25 is slightly better than 32, but still not reliably enough to be always going first. But the fact that you can move your allies which is in range 3 rather than range 2 gives you that much more flexibility. The downside is you don't get to move, but often moving allies within range 3 is fine. You can do something like allies going first, then you withdraw them from the combat using this card. In between rooms, you can help people move up, like a Deathwalker who's lagging behind. You can move the Deathwalker up. The fact that you can also move your allies. I talked about escort missions. These two cards are amazing escort missions. You can move, your pesky city guards into a different position. You can move your pesky VIP target so that they're away from the enemies, so they spend more time getting to the enemies, or you can move them faster to the escape tile or whatever tile they need to get to. These cards are absolutely amazing as a part of that toolkit that you have. Top half, heal 2, range 2, regen, nothing impressive, but good enough. Good enough earlier on. In between rooms, probably is most likely going to be dropping this. Again, doing damage is better than healing most of the time, unless your guy's on the brink of death. And if your guy is on the brink of death, 2 HP is not going to bring that guy back, to be honest. 2 HP is often not the difference between losing a card and not losing a card, and that's what I really care about. But it's basically heal 3 if you go faster than your ally, and that's alright. And the continuous healing I really value to allow our slightly more fragile characters to come in and take a punt at tanking from time to time. So I spent hours talking about cards already, so maybe I need to speed up a little bit. Resolve Courage and Unbreakable War. Both of these are kind of your bread and butter formation attacks. I talked about Unbreakable War bottom half already. I don't find the shield one to be very impressive. I find it even less impressive that I'm having to lose a range attack by 1 range. I don't understand why necessarily that was needed. I think this card would be perfectly fine if it just says shield 1 without this penalizing factor. I think the fact that it penalizes you, which then in turn reduces your ability to be more versatile as a class, I dislike that a lot. Because whilst attack 3 range 3 air is great on Javelin, attack 3 range 2, I don't like that. Bit too close for comfort for me. So on top of that, you are basically losing a card simply to put up a shield. Surely this card could just be a shield one. So I don't like the bottom half of this very much. Top half I do like. Unbreakable War, the attack 3. I think one of the biggest problems with the melee class in Frosthaven is having to deal with high retaliating enemies. And this allows you to bypass that because, you can set this up and then push the enemy away at the end of the attack. You can even attack somebody who's technically not melee adjacent to you and keep that guy there if you can't push because there's a wall or something. You could attack this guy like here. You're not actually next to the guy, so you don't take retaliating damage. So I actually value this card quite a lot, even in my slightly off-tanky, slightly more javelin-y Banner Spear build, because this kind of can function like a weird range attack from time to time. And the push one, wish that was push 2. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Push 1 is not bad, it's just not great either. I don't often find this push 1 to be too relevant. I know, again, watching Uganthos video, he definitely mentions there is this combo that you could do where you sort of attack like 3 of these guys and then you like maybe push them like in a way that gets you your... Actually, I don't know how he said that. I actually can't remember how he did it, but somehow like you get into this shape somehow and then you can then step in and do like this attack immediately, resolve courage immediately to basically how Unbreakable War kind of sets you up for your next formation attack. I guess maybe something like this, right? Yeah, something like this. So you basically attack 3 on these, push these 2 really slow, so you can step in, you can maybe step into this position slow, push them forward. Next turn you can go fast and maybe with like combined effort and resolve courage initiative 10, which will guarantee you to go fast. You can move your ally in like this and then attack all three of them, so you kind of done 2 big combo attacks. The downside of that is your ally probably have taken 2 big hits already, and then you step in slow, then you do this, and then you do that, and then you take 3 big hits, unless you're guaranteed to kill a bunch of them. I mean, it is a lot of damage, I suppose. It's 6 damage, but again, on higher level difficulties, not too great. And you don't want to run the risk. I think the other problem, like I said, is the unpredictability of the Banner Spear's attack modifier deck. You don't want to run the risk, really, of not killing an enemy and you and your ally having to take that much pain. Also, in a 4-player game, I find it quite hard to convince my allies to stand in front of an enemy and telling them, look, you stand there, I'm going to go really, really slow. I'm going to go after everybody. And they're going to come in and fill the gap, don't worry. I haven't had a great chance or great result convincing people to do that for me. So I don't often find that combo to work, but I do value a lot just the fact that you can do like attack 3 against 3 enemies or 2 enemies, and this formation is super easy to pull off. That's fine. That's great, good enough for me. I think I would wish for this card bottom side to be slightly stronger, but early on I do still take Unbreakable Wall into missions, simply because of this top half attack. Resolve Courage actually for me is more of a combo card in the sense that it can power Unbreakable Wall. What I mean by that is, bottom half of Resolve Courage I value a lot because it says attack add +1 damage to the next attack ability performed by you or adjacent ally this round. So it's not a single attack, it's actually the entire attack ability. So these 2 cards combined, this could be an attack 4 on 3 targets. And 1 damage doesn't feel like a lot, but when you're adding basically another attack effectively to this card, so this is 3 attack 3, right? You add 3 damage to this is kind of like 4 attack 3. Pretty good. I like that a lot. And often what I end up doing, nothing as fancy as Uganthal's combo move. Just simply like, look, I'm going to go really slow, right? And I'm going to say, look, my ally, you can go really slow too. Hopefully an enemy is moved up to us. Maybe it's like this or something. You know, not exactly like this 3-line thing, but ideally maybe like this. Or say, look, they're going to move up to us and they're not going to quite get to us this round, right? You go slow, you go like here. And I go slow and I go here. And next round, I execute this and that. So I do 3 attacks of 4 against all of these guys. And the real beauty of doing that is you get to draw 3 attack modifier deck. And within our attack modifier deck, we have Disarm, right? We have +1 damage for each ally adjacent to the target. We have Shields. We have push 1 more, so that could become push 2. We have Healing. So there are quite a lot of cards that potentially we could draw into just by drawing 3 attack modifier cards. That maybe sometimes I think like, look, I have maybe 15 cards in my deck left. I haven't seen any of the disarms here. I haven't seen any of the shields yet. I'm more or less confident to say, guys, get up there. I'll get up there. I do a big attack, do a whole bunch of damage, maybe disarm 1 of the 3. And then the 3 incoming damage becomes 2. Maybe I put on extra shield, help tank, and then ally can run away next round after me. Perfect. And I can do that initiative 10. So I often find if I'm in that situation, I'm just simply comboing these 2 cards rather than playing them as a combo into each other. I'm playing them as a combo on the same round together, if that makes sense. Which means the top half of this card, sometimes you just need the DPS, sometimes you just need multiple attack 3s. Immobilize. I don't find that to be too relevant. I think it's quite rare for me to be in a situation where at the beginning of the turn I am in this kind of shape that I want to attack and then run away. More often than not, I'm using that initiative 10 to say, oh gosh, this is my off-tank moment to shine. You know, I've been here throwing javelins. Now I'm gonna go move 4, probably with like tip of the spear, and then I'm gonna go in and do the sweeping attack and just take all the hits this round. Yeah. So Resolve Courage, surprisingly, maybe it's not surprising, is not. I think a lot of people think, oh, this card is designed for you to go in, attack fast, and then run away. Well, Banner Spear doesn't really have that toolkit because of the movement problem we talked about. Banner Spear movement is just too straightforward for that to happen. I often find this to be I'm gonna go in and make sure those 3 guys are on me. Like, especially if they're archers, they're on me. They're not moving away. They're getting disadvantage on their attack. I'm gonna make sure they hit me rather than my ally who's about to die. So I think all that is to say, I value both of these cards a lot. They work well with each other, and they work well earlier on in the mission. And Resolve Courage in particular was initiative, allowing you to beat like Algok's Archer. Doesn't quite beat the Priest, unfortunately. If only this was initiative 9. But yeah, initiative 10, you can beat the Archer, you can get in front of your allies, pin the archers, make sure they shoot you, make sure they're disadvantaged, save your allies, be the hero you're meant to be. Who cares about doing damage? We live for that moment of glory, then we run back and put a region on ourselves. Good stuff, like that. Right, movement. We talked a little bit about the move 4 already. They're solid. I only wish Set for the Charge has an enhancement pip, but oh well, that's life, isn't it? I actually, in a way, I kind of like the brutal design of this card that doesn't give you that enhancement pip, so you can't just say, I'm going to carry this card for the rest of my life, guilt free. But what is to say? Initiative 6, move 4. If only this was Initiative 4, move 4. That would be a winning design, I think. If this was, whenever enemy moves or teleports from a hex node adjacent to you, to a hex adjacent to you this round, enemy suffers 4. Initiative 4, move 4. Bam. That's the winning card design. As it stands, is good. Pretty good. I'll take it. I'll take the Initiative 6, move 4 all day long. Top half, whatever. You know, like, I think about the really scary, like, high shield enemies that you want to maybe use this against. Flame Demon, Living Spirit. They're ranged attackers. They don't want to be coming to you anyway. If you can get invisible somehow, I suppose this would be better. But Banner Spear doesn't actually have invisibility, so it doesn't really work. Yeah. I haven't found a real good use for this card. I always think like maybe the game developer designed this top half of the card for you to do something a little bit cheeky with it. Not simply like I'm going to stand in a doorway, enemy come towards me and tank it type of situation, but something else. But I just haven't quite found what that something else is. Unfortunately, yeah, top half of the card, I think I maybe used once and they didn't really pay off. As in, nothing really happened. I was expecting an enemy to come towards me, they just didn't. Oh well. But yeah, Initiative 6, move 4. If you play enough Haven games, you know how valuable that is. And like I said, if Resolve Courage is great, allowing you to go in and take hits. I mean, this basically is that, isn't it? Move in, take hits. Although, often in Haven, you don't want to be taking all the hits. But move 4 will make sure you get wherever you need to be at your own initiative. And this, again, makes communication, the very existence of this card makes communication easy, because all of your allies, after playing with you for a game or two, will remember you have this card, and you can tell them, look, I'm going to go as fast as I can, remember, right? You know how fast I can go. I'm going to go as fast as I can. You can play around that. That's easy communication. That's not like, I'm going to go, and my recent campaign group likes to use the London Thames River as a initiative tracker type of communication device. We say like, oh, we're going to go like at Buckingham Palace or Tower Bridge. I mean, that's just confusing, right? This is like saying, look, I am the fastest I can be, and you know that, right? You guys all know me. You know who I am. You know what I can do. I'm going fast. I'm going fast. I'm going to move there. I'm going to sort this out. That's the card for you. Tip of the Spear. Tip of the Spear, I also like a lot. And I like it because of versatility once again. I think this is a theme I keep coming back to for the Banner Spear. Banner Spear is a very, very versatile class, and I like cards that emphasize on that fact about the Banner Spear. Tip of the Spear is one of those initiative cards that's kind of saying, I'm gonna wait and see. If the enemy is near me, I can do an attack, pretty good attack, like it's just attack 3, right? But the Pier 3, amazing. Frosthaven has lots of shielded enemies, and one of the problems with classes like Banner Spear is dealing with shielded enemies. Like your attack 3 here may feel great, but if you're up against 3 1-shielded enemies, that's just attack 2. Like 3 2-shielded enemies, you might not even be doing any damage most of the time. This guarantees you that whoever you're up against, you're going to do damage, and you'll definitely bring this card into every single scenario where there are shielded enemies. The other thing is your shielded enemies are often the enemies with retaliate as well. I'm thinking about Living Corpse. This is great because this actually acts as a ranged attack, because you can attack somebody who is here. I mean, you guys hopefully already know that. But you can definitely do an attack at 1 range way, or maybe 2 range ways, the best way to describe this, at attack 3, Pier 3 with an EXP. So it's just a great attack, and it's an easy formation to pull off. I think I generally value more the easier formation to pull off, like these cards, where it's very easy to communicate with your allies. You can just say, look, stand next to me or stand behind me. That's an easy instruction compared to some of the later cards, right? Like stand in a triangular fashion near me. Be prepared to step into a triangular fashion, right? You two, be prepared to step into that formation with the enemy in the middle. I'm gonna be there. Can you guys maybe be there? And the enemy's gonna like. That's too much communication, and I and my friends do not have that much time. We have jobs to do, we have life to live, and we love Frosthaven, but we don't have all night to play it, unfortunately. And that also contributes to, like I said, analysis paralysis, where you can spend forever figuring out your turn, and then you pull the trigger and nothing works. Tip of the Spear is easy, right? If this formation doesn't work, I move 4. Move 4 is great. Move 4 gets me into position for next round. Maybe I can do Resolve Courage next round. That's good enough for me. So, Tip of the Spear, simple card. Initiative may be a problem for some people. For me, never has been a problem. If I really want to do this attack, I combo it with some cards like Set for the Charge or Resolve Courage to get the initiative I need. If I don't really care about doing the attack, I just want to have a punt at pulling off this attack. Simple instruction. Look guys, I'm going to go a bit slower. If I can get in front of you after your move, that's great. That means only move within this little bit of area, and we'll see what happens. If not, I move 4, right? Once again, versatility. I move 4, I throw a Javelin, I throw a Driving Inspiration, I throw Incendiary Throw. That's fine, right? You can easily do like this card and this card at a 67 initiative if you wanted to, and both of those crossover cards work. Again, I like that. That's what makes Banner Spear strong, in my opinion. Which comes to the last 2 cards at level 1. I think these 2 cards exemplifies what doesn't make the Banner Spear strong. Pincer Movement, attack 5, muddle 1 EXP. Unfortunately, you have to actually pincer the enemy. So funny enough, comparing this shape to the shape in Rallying Cry is actually much easier to execute than Pincer Movement. The problem with Pincer Movement is like, Banner Spear doesn't have jump, so it's quite hard to get over a wall of enemy for this to get pulled off. I mean, don't get me wrong, attack 5 muddle is definitely a worthy payoff for a level 1 card. The problem is, if you're going to do this consistently, you want to be able to jump, and that means buying the jumping boots off the get-go. I'm not talking about higher prosperity items, obviously. I'm thinking strictly speaking, like you're starting out with the Banner Spear, which is probably most people's experience anyway. On +3 difficulty, do you want to be buying the jumping boots right off the get-go? I don't think so, because if you're going to be jumping into the back line for the enemies, you're gonna need tank, and that only really gets you a leather armor or heater shield left with your money, and that's not a great recipe for surviving behind enemy lines. So I think again, lower difficulties, pincer movement is a great card. Higher difficulties, unfortunately, attack 5 model 1 guy is just not good enough for you to be taking that level of risk. Or maybe I'm just too conservative, who knows. I just often find it's more trouble than it's worth to be playing pincer movement. That is not to say the bottom half doesn't have its uses. Some missions requires you to loot, it's rare. Some battle goals means you want to loot, again rare. But yeah, sometimes you can just sack off a card and take a looting card, you know. Enjoy your scoundrel moment, why not? And every now and then you put off attack 5, hooray, everybody's happy about that. Maybe you kill something, maybe you don't. Good enough. So pincer movement has its uses, but it's not my go-to card. Deflecting maneuver similarly. Whereas I really liked attack 2 with advantage, I actually don't like attack 3 with advantage. Because this is a melee attack, and melee attacks means you have to be next to the enemy, and melee attacks means if you don't kill an enemy, you're definitely getting hit most of the time, and I don't really want that to happen. Most of the time I want to be able to manipulate enemy movement so that I don't get hit if possible, and if I do get hit, I get hit on my own terms. And initiative 15 just feels a bit awkward for that. Like, it's not fast enough. I think if this was 14, this card would be much more valuable because it means it allows you to beat the Algox Archer right off the get-go. Algox Archer has a 14 shot, which is quite annoying and painful. There's so many times where I took this card into a mission with me thinking, you know what? Worst case scenario, top half says I wear leather armor this round. Bottom half says I reduce to attack from ranged enemies, and then the ranged enemies are inevitably Algox Archers, and they shoot me at range 14, and this card does nothing. Great. And there's no other way to use this card. It's not like I can say, you know what, if this shield 2 thing didn't work, I can at least throw a javelin back. No, I can't do that. Or if I say, oh, if this didn't work because I didn't go fast enough to really take advantage of this disadvantage attack thing, I can at least like maybe move somewhere to do something else. Can't do that either. Yeah, this card is for me is the ultimate anti-versatility card. It's like it's here to do one thing, and that one thing is to make sure you survive, but it's not really fast enough to make sure you survive, and you don't really want to then be pairing this card with something like Set for the Charge. It's just too valuable of a card to be throwing away on a pure defensive measure. And you need wind to set up advantage. I don't know. There's too much work to make this card work for it to be only good against a certain type of enemies, i.e. range enemies, and then it doesn't even beat one of the basic range enemies initiative. Oh god. Having said that, all joke aside, I think this card has its uses when you're fighting against robotic bow shooters. In a room full of robotic bow shooters and everybody wants to be, you're almost guaranteed to get hit all the time against robotic bow shooters. Initiative 15 is okay against them, and giving yourself range 2, maybe it's good enough. But equally, why do you just want to go up and hit it, right? Just go up and hit it. Go up and try to kill it maybe, instead of just constantly taking hits. Who knows? I don't know. I have taken this card into scenarios against robotic bow shooters before, thinking that, look, I can use either side. Like, first turn I need to set up for some reason. I can't move too much. I'll just set up, and this card helps. It has helped once or twice, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not my go-to cards. Anyway, I think level 1 cards, hopefully shared a little bit of my thoughts there. I sometimes do talk about it in my videos, but bit more in-depth thoughts from me there. Overall, I value versatility. I think, once again, Banner Spear, strong class because of the versatility. Let's talk about leveling up. What happens when you level up as Banner Spear? What are you really trying to get at? Again, I'm trying to emphasize on the ability to emphasize where Banner Spear is strong, which is survivability, and escortability, if that's a word, and not necessarily compensate where Banner Spear is weak, which is ability to kill and ability to make crazy movement. I don't mean just simply move forward, I mean like crazy movement. One, Banner Spear doesn't have crazy movement, and two, I don't think it's worth it, given Banner Spear's unpredictability, for the Banner Spear to be constantly in the meat grinder. Which transitions me into card called Meat Grinder. Meat Grinder, this formation, surprisingly easy to pull off, because if you can look past the mental barrier of thinking there has to be 2 enemies here, this is basically just Rallying Cry with a added hex. So yeah, pretty easy to pull off. Anytime I picked Meat Grinder, I had no problem pulling off this card. The only problem I had is sometimes I think I'm going and do a lot of damage, and Banner Spear doesn't do that. Banner Spear sometimes draws the -2 or the +1 into the -2, and I feel really, really sad. I suppose it is genuinely worthwhile saying that when you do more formation attacks than just a simple like a ranged attack, you do get to draw modifiers. So you hopefully reduce the variance a little bit more, so that you draw more into your good attack modifier deck. But I think the problem with Banner Spear is, even if you are just drawing average, you still have 4 zeros to draw through your attack modifier deck. So yeah, I've laid out here all of the vertical ones are the cards you're taking out, and the horizontal ones the ones you keep in. So yeah, sometimes it can do damage, sometimes it doesn't do enough damage. I think that's my biggest problem with the Banner Spear. If the -2 and the -1 weren't here, I think I will rate this card much more highly, because of the uncertainty and because of the downside of the uncertainty, right? Think about it. If the certainty is, look, I just need to go in and do 5 damage with the wound, I can kill the enemy, I can kill at least one of the enemy, right? Then I'm only getting 1 hit, great. But then you go in, you draw attack 4 -2. You've done 2 damage with the wound, you've done 3 damage, enemy is alive with 2 damage. Nobody else is there to help you because you told your friends that you're going to go in and do that, or you told yourself you're going to do that if you're playing solo like me. An enemy lives, and the enemy hits you back with attack 7 to your face. And 2 attack 7s is inevitably a disaster, whereas 1 attack 7 is acceptable. Not good. Yeah. So I really like this card. I like the top half. The bottom half I think speaks of itself. Move 3, heal 1, range 1 regen. Great. So many things you can do with this. I mean, the ability to go in, like, just remove a poison or a wound or a brittle from some of your friends, or bane. Fantastic. I really, really like this card. The only thing I dislike is just the inbuilt disadvantage of Banner Spear being an unpredictable attacker. Which brings me to Pinning Charge. Now, Pinning Charge, I think if you were to compare with Meat Grinder, is definitely the less flashy version of the 2 cards. Once again, initiative 17. I mean, 62, inevitably, you're not going to be playing that for the initiative, right? Whereas 17 you would. But 17 is not the fastest initiative, but it's a pretty good initiative. What I really like about Pinning Charge is the certainty compared to Meat Grinder. The certainty that you know that if you have wind, you will immobilize the enemy. At range 4. I think if this card lacked either the range or the immobilize, this card wouldn't work at all. I think the fact that both of them together is what makes this card really shine for me. Range 4 means you can be back in the back line enough, or have enough, again, versatility to strike pretty much any target you want. And the guaranteed immobilize versus the not guaranteed ability to kill and put yourself in front of 2 potentially enemies or more is what makes this card fantastic. Immobilize, it simply means against some enemy like the Algos Guard, you can just say, look guys, I'm going to throw a javelin at this guy and he's not going to move and you don't have to worry about it. And I have a pretty good initiative to go with this. So 95% of the time we are good to go. And that's a pretty good way to also just simplify your thought process. I think Banner Spear is a complicated class. You have to think about formations a lot. You have to think about your class movement, your enemy movement, your friends movement. Pinning Charge simplifies that for you a lot. Less brain power, easy results. You don't do move 2, attack 2 turns. That's great. Bottom half is also great. Range 4, again, I emphasize this range 4. Range 4, big difference between range 4 and range 3 is enormous. And if you can do range 4, 3 allies move 2, that's great. If the team needs to move, your lagging behind objective ally needs to move, Pinning Charge is your friend. And 17 is fast enough to get them out of trouble. So, when I level up, I've tried with both cards. I think Pinning Charge always wins out for me. Assuming you have someone like a Blink Blade, like a Deathwalker, like a Drifter on your side that can do the heavy hitting for you. Yeah. I mean, why take the risk as a Banner Spear to do this when you can sit back and consistently immobilize people, right? If you have immobilization net, you can immobilize with Javelin first round, immobilize again with Pinning Charge second round. Both of them are fast enough. And you can put out this Band of Strength out. You'll be doing attack 4, range 3, immobilize, followed by attack 3, range 4, immobilize. Bam. Taking care of a charging Algox Elite Guard at your team, immobilizing it for 2 rounds, doing chip damage. It's not flashy work, but it's good work. So, while I level up, I tend to take Pinning Charge, and it is how I played my Banner Spear in my recent playthrough as well. And hopefully you guys seen the value of this card. Level 3. Level 3, you're presented with very interesting situations. Head of the Hammer is not a card I like to play a lot. I've tried it once or twice, maybe just once. Yeah, I mean attack 7 does this job. Stunning does this job. 3 XP is great. Losing the card is not great. But, you know, if in emergency you want to pull this off, you probably most of the time can. It's probably quite desperate that your ally will want to do this shape with you to allow you to buy a turn. But again, on 4 players, there are just a little bit too many monsters for this to be worth a card throw. It's like, you know, if you're often under attack from 3 or 4 monsters, and if you're really desperate enough to be needing to do this itself probably is not going to buy you enough time for the team to recover already. You probably want to avoid being in this situation where you want to smash the glass with the hammer to do this. So yeah, if I'm taking this card, I'm mostly taking it for the bottom half. This is what I was talking about, where I think on the internet you can read about Banner Spear guides where you're kind of a tanky Banner Spear, your frontline Banner Spear, or your range Banner Spear. I actually think, again, versatility, etc., Banner Spear can do both. You don't have to do one or the other. And this is a card where it exemplifies that. You can absolutely take Pinning Charge. The move 4 with the wind gives you synergy with the Pinning Charge. And it means that one turn you can be, right, you can one round you can go in and muddle maybe 2 or 3 enemies, do a little bit of tanking. Next round you can retreat and pin one of those enemies. Great. I think that's what makes a Banner Spear an excellent class to play, because of that ability to go in and out, take some damage with pretty good safety rail guards through the muddle. Next turn, move out, immobilize that guy, recover your HP somehow. I think, you know, the initiative is actually pretty good. Sometimes you do want to go in 87, right? You can go in late, or if you don't want to go in late, you can pair that with a fast card, like maybe like a Driving Inspiration. Throw that, move in. Great. This card definitely gives you the ability to choose. And move 4 is obviously good. I think, for me, it's a bit of a toss-up between this card and Let Them Come. The reason I say that, I think Let Them Come has a bit more of a payoff. No. Not only does Let Them Come let you do your mastery at level 3, which is a genuine consideration. Let Them Come gives you the versatility of the heal. heal 2 on both yourself, target ally in the blue hex, and self. I think if this was only target ally, I definitely wouldn't be taking this card. I think as a tank, as an off tank, the ability to self-heal is actually pretty important. And the ability to self-heal combined with an attack is pretty important. The reason I say that is because often if you had run into tank, maybe you've taken quite a lot of damage now, and you want to recover some health and continue to do damage, i.e. take advantage of the fact that you are currently in a position to do melee attack. Let them come is inevitably the follow-up, right? So first round could be something like I javelin, and then move forward with like maybe combined effort to do the tanking. Then I just tell my friend, stand next to me, easy formation to pull off. Next round open with let them come, heal myself up a bit, do some damage, set up the poison for my friend to do, then follow up. I can then retreat with something like tip of the spear, move 4, right? That's a pretty good combo I've been putting off when I'm playing the Banner Spear in this fashion, and I find the ability to do that consistently is good. And I think if I didn't already have 2 good move 4s, I might value Head of Hammer a bit more, simply because I'll get another move 4. But I think the fact that I have already 2 pretty good move 4s just means I don't necessarily need another move 4 without like jump or something added. So yeah, I find Let Them Come to be just a little bit better for the style I play. I think there's nothing wrong with taking Head of the Hammer here for sure. If anything, I actually think there's nothing wrong with going back to take Meat Grinder either. I think the healing is just slightly more valuable than simply muddling people. Because inevitably you don't want to be, you don't want to be muddling 4 guys. Even if you're muddling 4 of them and you're getting hit 4 times, it's just not good enough, right? So yeah, I think I take Let Them Come most of the time. Although, like I said, I wouldn't fault you for taking Head of the Hammer or Meat Grinder. Again, there's not a ranged or melee build. There's actually, this is a mixed build, and I think that's where Banner Spear really shines. Later on, for sure, Let Them Come drops off a lot. Attack 2 is no longer really good enough later on in the scenario, later on in the campaign, as the enemy gets stronger and stronger and they get to level 7. Many of them become immune to poison, especially the Unfettered. But the heal 2 is still great. This is effectively heal 4 when you put it off, right? There's like plus 2 HP each for you and your ally, so that's 4 HP for the team. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. With all the shielding and the leather armor that you have at that point, 4 HP for the group is actually quite a lot of HP. Best of all, later on, Let Them Come's top half, as top half of Let Them Come drop off slightly, you get the full benefit of the bottom half. So I did say earlier that I don't think Banner Spear is a class that enjoys just putting up a load of shields for tanking. I think Banner Spear tanks in other ways. Banner of Courage is surprisingly a good card because not only it gives people shield, which is good but not amazing, it's 7 HP. 7 HP means in a worst case scenario where you need to lose card to tank for stuff, you might as well summon this banner and they might survive 2 hits. So unlike the previous 2 banners we've seen where they're only 4 HP, this is 7 HP, and 7 HP combined with Warden's Robe, which is a good item to take for the Banner Spear, could mean this banner could survive 2 hits. Surviving 2 hits is pretty good if you're gonna lose a card anyway. So I think the Let Them Come again has the ability for you to use the top half in a situation where you are playing more versatile. It has good initiative and it has a good summon that you can use later on in the mission. The fact that it benefits all allies is great. The fact that it has 7 HP, fantastic, because these banners will almost inevitably die on +3 on 1 hit, whereas this guy could survive to the 2nd hit. So, level 4. I think level 4 is where the Banner Spear really gets going. You have 2 very good cards at level 4. Air Support and Boldening Blow. let's talk about air support first. A simple card. Attack 4, range 3, pierce 2, air. Improved version of Javelin, and I like Javelin already. I liked Javelin because of the versatility, and I like air support because of versatility too. Because not only you can choose to do a range attack, you can also simply choose to summon this Falcon, and then you are absolutely in no circumstance ever you're gonna feel bad about summoning this Falcon. Falcon itself is not super impressive. It's move 3, attack 2, it has flying, it will get into the enemy's face and it will probably just die after one hit. But it's a repeatable summon. And I think, you know, if this wasn't repeatable, if this was like 5 HP, 2 EXP non-repeatable summon, this card would not be great. The fact that it's repeatable means either side is good to do. You can either do some damage or you can set up a delayed disarm followed by some kind of a small attack. And sometimes the Falcon surprises you, survives for several rounds, does quite a bit of damage. Awesome. The best thing about the air support card is it sets up for a whole bunch of formation. Struggling to get, you know, unbreakable wall down because you have no friends, summon the Falcon next to you. And the Falcon's fast enough, unlike Bob, which goes at initiative 60, which is really, like I said, a wait and see type of card. Falcon's the card where you say, you know what, I'm gonna do this combo attack, bam, I'm gonna pull the trigger by putting the Falcon next to me. Right, do the Falcon, do unbreakable wall, do the Falcon, do tip of the spear, do the Falcon, do let them come. Initiative 20. That will get you to do it. This card, the single summon, is surprisingly actually a great piece in putting together your formation puzzles. Speaking of formation puzzles, Boldening Blow is probably one of the best payoff for your formations thus far. Yes, it's not as flashy as the others. You don't get to attack 4 enemies. I know everybody who started playing Banner Spear for the first time made that mistake, and when I pointed out to them, their face drops. But attack 4 on one guy, disarming that guy, fantastic. And it is a harder formation to put off, for sure. Even when playing solo, sometimes I struggle to get this formation to work. But the fact that you can combine it with air support, which means you've taken care of one of your allies needed, is great. You can definitely combine these two cards. And then once again, this is a situation where either combo works. You can either move and do an attack, or you can summon the Falcon and do this. Either side works, depending on the situation. And I think that's exactly why at level 4 and 5 you should be taking both of these cards, rather than a card at level 5. So yeah, I think for me, from level 4 is when your Banner Spear is really going to really shoot off into the stratosphere, where you can consistently start to get payoffs and shine in doing everything that you love doing, which is stopping the enemy from hitting you guys, you know, making your allies stronger, moving people about more. Like this bottom half, move 2, ground 2 allies with ring 3, move 3, just strictly better combined effort. Yeah, fantastic. And maybe worth saying that I don't see these two cards as necessarily a replacement of Javelin and combined effort. In fact, very often, depending on the scenario, I will actually take all 4 cards with me, right? Like if I need to move allies, if I need positions because I need formation payoff, like from Unbreakable Wall and Tip of the Spear, I will take both combined effort and Boldening Blow. And if I need the range attack, in particular, I need to power the air element for pinning charge, I will take both air support and Javelin. Do not be afraid to double up on what you're already good at. On to level 5. It's kind of sad that I don't really like the cards at level 5. I wish I liked them a bit more. Hold the Line. I have tried this. I think it does exactly what it says. Hold the Line. Shield 2, if you combine that with Unbreakable Wall, you're on Shield 3. And you combine that with your items, easily like up to Shield 4. Iron Will, which is one of your perks. You can have loads of shields. Great. Loads of shield is great. You don't take damage. Great. The problem is you don't kill the enemy either, which is kind of sad. So, unlike cards like Pinning Charge or Boldening Blow, where you stop the damage, you also do chip damage back. Hold the line, stop the damage, and full stops. Stops right there. Stops the line, hold the line. So, not good enough for me, actually, surprisingly. I find that just I'd rather do a little bit more work to set up Pinning Charge, and it's not a lot of work, right? You just need to look one round ahead of you to set up the wind. And do a little bit of damage, then simply say I'm taking no damage. I think just quite rare I'm in a scenario where I have to say, do you know what, I just need to survive for the round, and just need to make sure my allies survive for the round, and not do any damage. I think Frosthaven is just not the game to set up to do that. You might think, well, there are some survive scenarios that this would be good at. I think even in the survive scenarios, like, you know, derelict elevator, for example, I'd rather still be hitting the enemy than not. I think this card, maybe, I wonder if this card would have been better in Gloomhaven, honestly, than in Frosthaven. Simply because you have your allies have more opportunity to abuse the cards in Gloomhaven. I'm talking about first edition, so that the fact that you can just buy them a turn for, you know, Sword to do their crazy stuff, or for, like, you know, enemies just to be, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, just to be assassinated by the scoundrel, for example, right? You know, when you can just take out an enemy immediately without doing anything else, hold the line probably have bigger payoff, because you're basically saying, look guys, I'm gonna draw all their attack, you guys do whatever you need to do your kill. But if the payoff is, oh, you guys get to do like 4 attacks of 4, not bad, but that's not enough to kill. I'd rather contribute to the damage a little bit than doing no damage whatsoever. Bottom half of this card, a lost card, really very sad about that. I mean, it's a good card, but I just don't want to be losing a card to put up a shield and retaliate once. I guess some enemies this is good against, like heavily shielded enemies. Thinking about maybe the crabs, for them to be doing multi-attack against you and taking 3 damage each time, great. Shield 2 with this Unbreakable Wall already set up, you have 3 shields for the round, great. You're probably not taking a lot of damage, but again, it's quite narrow, and there are many enemies who have high shield where retaliate would be great at. They are ranged. I just find Hold the Line overall to be too narrow. I wonder if Hold the Line was like a slightly lower level card for you to choose from. Like, it might be better, maybe present as like a level 3 choice or something, I don't know. I just find Hold the Line to be too narrow for me to be wanting to take to be taking a level 5. I don't enjoy getting hit with no upside, so the top half doesn't really work for me. The bottom half is sad as a lost card. I wish that was like maybe 2/1/2, 1 EXP non-loss. I don't know, maybe that would have been better. Or like, I don't know, 1/1/1 or 1/1/2, I don't know. That might be better, but the fact this is a lost card, I mean, so many times there have been times I played this bottom half thinking, great, I'm going to take all the hit, do all the retaliate, set everything up, enemies don't even attack me, or have the enemies choose to stand still and do nothing. Then you feel really sad about this card. Explosive Epic Center. I wish it was more explosive. I mean, is attack 3 explosive? Attack 3 push 1. Is that explosive? Ground the ally in the blue hex of the attack ability and self move 1. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you are in a situation where you get to attack 6 enemies, you are probably in a lot of trouble. And if you're in a lot of trouble, attack 3 push 1 is not really explosive enough. So yeah, I don't really find the top half of this card to be that attractive, because I just don't want to put myself in this situation with another friend of mine. That seems bad. I mean, sure, you could just attack 3 guys, and that's basically your bread and butter unbreakable wall, and you get to move one afterwards. So if you pushed one, you move one, you're technically 2 spaces apart. I suppose maybe this is more for later on in the party, where you have potentially like trap or snowflake in your party, where you can manipulate the push to do more damage. But as it stands, I don't like this card. I don't like the fact that it doesn't do more damage than 3. I don't like the fact that there's nothing else to this card. I don't like the fact that initiative is still pretty poor compared to like my unbreakable wall there. Sorry, I don't know why there's some crazy people honking outside my place. Yeah, I don't really like too much about the top half of this card. It just doesn't feel like a level 5 card to me. Bottom side, I actually think the bottom side of this card is great. Once per turn, on your turn, while enemies within range 3 grant one adjacent ally itself a move 1. I think this passive ability is actually pretty great, especially considering this move 1 sometimes is not really a move 1, because you have boots, you have other characters' ability to improve the movement. I actually found that in many scenarios, this itself is good enough to allow me to escort my team to a safe position. It all adds up, because sometimes your move 1 between yourself and your ally can be really, really helpful. Like sometimes you're just like, oh, if I can just move 1 now, right, then I can attack, then I can move again, then I'm kind of like not going to be attacked by the enemy somehow by doing that. I guess this card was bottom side was designed as a crutch to help you set up some of your more complicated formations, maybe even the later formations like try thrust and barricade, which we'll talk about imminently. But I actually found this just to be a good move card, to be honest, the bottom side. So sometimes if you're interested in going down this path, you could try out. But overall, I think this is just not steady enough. Again, maybe I'm too conservative. I don't find enough uses for explosive epicenter generally. I think there are great uses for it on specific circumstances. So is Hold the Line. So I feel like both of these cards are almost like sideboard cards. And I suppose if the level 4 cards wasn't so good, I would definitely consider taking one of them. But I think the level 4 cards are just so good, and they combo so well with each other, and they are so versatile as to fit so many different situations. I unfortunately have to say no to both of the level 5 cards. So, this video is going on far too long. I hope you guys are still with me, and I'm going to need to drink some more water. But let's look at level 6 then. So level 6, Barricade. Let's start with Barricade. Fantastic banner. Negate the first source of damage to an adjacent ally each round. What's not to like? Only downside is the top half of the card is a funny formation. I think the fact that it requires you to be in the middle of 2 allies is what makes this thing kind of annoying. I actually found that every time I try to play this, I find it hard to squeeze in between 2 allies for this to happen. But if you can put this off, great. Attack 3 and shield 1. I think shield 1 is not super synergistic. I almost wish this just said attack 3 wound, grant self, shield 3. Then I would definitely play this card. I think the fact that you're shielding everybody and almost at no times do your allies want to remain in this position after you do attack even against 2 enemies means the shield is just going to waste. But the Banner of Valor is fantastic. If you're fighting against some kind of enemy that does a single big attack every turn, which are typically the boss enemies, they do multi-attack sometimes, but yeah, this is great. This is each round though, so you basically ignore 1 hit each round. But ignoring 1 hit each round is amazing. So if you are coming to level 6 and you take Barricade purely for the banner, good on you. No problem with that. And occasionally you might get the use out of the top half. I don't know. Bolstering Shout for me is the choice. Not necessarily because the healing is better than ignoring a hit every round. is because the bottom half. Again, I tend to go for cards where both the top and the bottom has a use, whereas I see Barricade strictly as most of the time I'm probably going to be using it for the bottom half. I don't really find myself, even in 4 players, to be in a lot of situations. I think it's simply because in 4 players there's so many monsters, the room is very crowded. It's actually quite hard to consistently get to a position where the 3 of you can stand shoulder to shoulder with each other. So maybe in a 3-player game this would be slightly more useful, I don't know. But yeah, definitely Bowstring Shout for me is the choice because the healing is good. I don't think it's as good as just ignoring a damage straight up. But with wind, this is almost as good, I would say. And the fact that you can move 3, pull 2 targets within range 3 of you towards you for 2. This is amazing. I think Bowstring Shout has so many uses for setting up attacks, for setting up like Boldening Blow, for putting enemy into traps, for taking the enemy away from a target to manipulate its AI, right? Like if somebody wants to be doing a big attack against your ally, you put that guy away. Or somebody wants to be doing a multi-target attack, but by doing this, you put the guy into a corner so that it can only focus you. It can't attack any one of your other allies because it can't reach. Like putting ancient artillery out of position towards the party so you can all kill it. Fantastic. And the move 3 just makes that pulling so much more effective because you can cover so much more ground with Bowstring Shouts. For me, not going to fault you for taking Barricade, but I definitely prefer taking Bowstring Shouts and continue down the line of, look, I'm a steady, support, escort-orientated, defensive, conservative Banner Spear that can weave in and out, tank a hit here, take a hit there, heal up the enemy, heal up our allies, provide disarm, provide the critical, leadership, critical leadership piece. Gives me all the tools in the box to be a leader and direct my team and adapt to the battlefield situation. Bowstring Shout is the card to go. At level 7, we can be a bit more selfish. I think both of the level 7 cards are basically damage cards, right? Lead from afar is almost no need for commentary. You have either a big attack on top, situationally, if your ally is already next to an enemy, and this is basically your first card allows you to say, look guys, if you swarm that guy, you don't kill it, I can probably kill it for you. The only thing you got to be careful of is the initiative. You probably don't want to be going at 80 initiative with this card. You probably want to be going at some kind of middling initiative. I'm thinking maybe like 32 with combined effort, so that you can even shove some more allies in front of the enemy before you execute the big nuke. Lead from afar is definitely the type of cards that you can actually start doing some serious damage if you have enemies in the right place against your allies. Alternatively, the Longbowman is one of my favorite old-time DPS summons. Like I said, one of the biggest problem with the attack modifier deck for the Banner Spear is its unpredictability. The Longbowman gives you a bit more predictability because you just get to see your cards more often. Seeing your cards more often means you get to draw more cards like the Disarm. Means you get to draw more rolling into attacks. Means hopefully you see the -2, -1 slightly less because you're just drawing more cards overall over the campaign. The more I play with the Longbowman, the more I feel like it's just quietly, again, very thematic, I guess, for my build. My Banner Spear is there quietly doing damage here and there, and the Longbowman is just a minier version of that. The range 4 means inevitably it's always going to be in range of something. Attack 2 is low. It definitely, when you play the Longbowman, you definitely want to make sure it stays away from shielded enemies, stay away from retaliating range enemies. As long as you can keep to that, and of course if you're playing against a scenario where solely they're all like heavily shielded enemies, don't play the Longbowman, play Lead from Afar, top half. But yeah, if you're against Algoxes, the Humbleman's gonna do great. And the model, well, who doesn't like a model on a summon, right? This model is just, again, fantastic. Sometimes you do draw the model into the disarm, and you feel a bit sad, but that's okay. Rather have it than not. And typically the model will save you a damage or two. And don't underestimate the model. Actually, when I play the party, in my most recent playthrough, I had Deathwalker adding curses to the enemy's deck, and Bone Shaper can obviously fulfill that same role. Model and leather armor means the enemy often draw through the entire deck very quickly, and you get all the value of the curses. Tri-Thrust, I think, is also a very valid option at this level. I think the top half of the formation is harder to play off. I think if you have a team who knows the party very intimately, who knows Banner Spear very intimately, this is probably a card that goes up in value because the payoff is great. But I think often or not, you probably struggle to pull off this formation. I have certainly tried to make this work, and I think it is, my experience, is a pretty hard formation to put off if you wanted to communicate with a bunch of other people. I often find just in a 4-player situation, people talking over each other, they're trying to communicate different things, they have different things in mind. You know, my party like to do their battle goals as well, so sometimes you're like, look, can you move there? They're like, no, I can't move there. Okay, why not? Well, I just can't. Well, okay then, I guess I'm not doing Tri-Thrust ever. That does happen. I think Initiative 27 means you're not really guaranteed to get this off sometimes, which is also kind of sad, but that's just part of the risk you have to deal with if you're playing this card. I think if you're playing this card, definitely your initiative boost goes up in value. I think 70 initiative is just going to be way better than 27 to try to do this and get the star off. Because if you do this, you don't get the star off. It's kind of sad. But having said that, if you don't get the star off, you still get to do the bottom half, which is move 3, attack 1, target 3. With wind, you target 3 enemies within 2 hexes instead. So this allows you to, I think the benefit of the bottom half is not necessarily the ability to just attack 3 guys for 1. It's actually the ability to draw 3 attack modifiers. It means you can draw heal self, it means you can draw disarm, it means you can draw shield. So for me, Tri-Thrust's value is occasionally you pull off the top half and you feel great and you've done it, you are the best formational Banner Spear in the world. But most of the time, the bottom side of this card will do a lot of work for you in the sense that you can pray for disarm, you can pray for a couple of shields, and often find the shields arrive in couples, not singularly, most of the times in my playthrough. Tri-Thrust has those values, but I definitely prefer this, again, the versatility and the steadiness of Lead from Afar. I almost think like the build with the Banner Spear is not so much ranged versus melee. It's almost like, do you like to take risk? Like Barricade? Yes, I like to take risk, because the top half doesn't always happen, but when it happens, I feel great. Tri-Thrust, do you like to take risk? Explosive Epicenter, do you like to take risk? Head of the Hammer, would you like some risk with that, please? And Meat Grinder too. I think all of the cards I am electing not to take are just the more safer version of the Banner Spear. I think you end up being less flashy, but you do a lot of work and like work for the team quietly, and you can be the person that commands the brain energy for the team. Level 8 and 9, inevitably, even on +3, many people don't get to this level, so these 2 levels are definitely less discussed, I find, online. I have tried both Taunting Howl and Sweeping Aid. Both have their places. Whereas Hold the Line grants your allies with shields, which is kind of weird, because if I want to be tanking, I want to be tanking, especially at Initiative 5. Taunting Howl allows you to just grab 3 shields and muddle the target. I actually think the top half of this card is great. Like, this is a card that really says I'm not going to take any damage because of the model. But having said that, it is still a top half loss card that does nothing other than make sure you take damage. But the bottom half is amazing. Move 3, 2 allies within range 3, move 3, at initiative 11. That beats the archers, doesn't beat the priest, still, but it does mean that I'll probably take the hit because I can move up and take the hit with this initiative 11, and then I can move my allies to a place where they can do their thing. And this has enough range, enough movement for all of those things to happen. There are so many things you could do with the bottom half of this card. It is amazing, and I think Taunting Howl definitely deserves the spot for consideration at level 8. Now, again, having said that, Sweeping Aid. What's good about Sweeping Aid? Sweeping Aid gives you the ability to step behind the ally. How often does that happen? I don't think it happens as often as you think on +3 difficulty. Once again, for the simple fact that you don't want to be always standing next to allies. But you definitely end up with a lot of situations where, your ally has been attacked in the previous round, and you can go really fast at initiative 6 to go in and immobilize those guys. And then your allies can move out, and if these are melee enemies, then they're not going to do any damage. The Pierce 2 is amazing. Attack 4 is amazing at this level. I actually think compared Sweeping Aid to Resolve Courage, it's kind of unfair, because I think Resolve Courage is actually a card I find, like I said, where you want to go in and tank. Whereas Sweeping Aid is a card where you go in and you disable. So I think that's the mentality you need to have with Sweeping Aid. So Sweeping Aid is kind of card, like aiding is probably the right verb here. You are going to aid to immobilize enemy. Or, with the bottom half, you can go slow and heal up your team. So I think between these two cards, both of them are really, really good for the style of Banner Spear I like to play. Again, very easy to pull off the Sweeping Aid formation. You almost don't need to communicate to your ally at all on this one. You can just say, look, I saw that you're getting hit. Don't go crazy fast. I can go pretty fast, and I can make sure they don't move this round, and we can all get out of the way. But having said that, I think the ability for Taunting Howl to do what it does, and this card will pretty much, if you take it, it will truly replace Combined Effort. I don't often think about replacing cards as much as accentuating the strength for certain scenarios, but Taunting Howl absolutely replaces Combined Effort, and I personally prefer that card. I really wish I could take Sweeping Aid at level 8, but Taunting Howl, bottom half, it's just, there's so many things you can do with it, and I guess you really have to play the game to learn for yourself what it can do and what it can't do. Right, level 9. I do not like Take No Prisoners. I don't really care what anybody says. I don't think you want to be in a situation where you're facing against that enemies and thinking poisoning them is good enough to set your party up. I mean, I know there are a lot of AoE attacks that's out there that can absolutely take advantage of the poison. I just don't think this is a place where you want to be. Banner of Doom. All enemies with range 4 suffers 1 damage at the start of their turns. Can translate to a lot of damages. The problem I think with this card is I really want to take Banner of Doom for the banner. Take no prisoners for the banner. And I really want to play with Hail of Spears. Because what's better than making all enemies suffer than 1 damage at the start of the turns than literally throwing the banner into the enemies? Hail of Spears allows you to do a range attack of 5 at range 4, and you can throw your banner into the enemy for an extra target. So it becomes 2 attacks of 5 at range 4. And I think one of the best banner to throw is probably Banner of Doom, followed by Banner of Valor. Unfortunately, the game designers decided that you can't do both. I know, moment of silence for the Banner Spear there. Why not? Surely that's the best combo you could do. Anyway, I feel kind of sad. I guess most people don't even get to level 9 with the Banner Spear. It's probably one of the characters you pick early because it's too complexity rating. Then you find out you really hate it. Then you retire as soon as possible and you don't feel bad about it. I get that. But someone who really loves the Banner Spear, I'm really sad you don't get to do both here. So I think if you could do Hail of Spears and take no prisoners, I would absolutely take both. I might not even take a level. I mean, I can't do that obviously, but if the order was somehow rearranged, like one of these cards is lower down, I might just like take both or something. But you can't. Because you can't, I unfortunately feel a little bit more ambivalent about Banner of Doom. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great. This could translate to a lot of damage, a lot of spread damage, mind you. So in a way is kind of similar to design-wise, kind of similar to Incendiary Throw, where you're spreading the wound, and this is kind of like you do a wave of wound every round. It definitely has its places against high shielded enemies. This is fantastic. Flame Demons, Living Spirit, throw this down, watch them melt in front of the Banner of Doom. Loads of value. I just think the top half of the card is... I guess the card is designed in such a way that if you're dealing with a lot of no shield enemies, top half is great. If you're dealing against a lot of shield enemies, the bottom half is great. Yeah, what can I say? It's a card. It does its job. It's not... I think there are better ways of dealing with the situation than spreading all your damages. That's just how I feel. Now, Hail of Spears. I actually think this competes against Sweeping Aid. Because of the fact I don't get to throw Banner of Doom. Which banner am I really throwing then? Am I gonna throw Banner of Strength into the middle of the enemy? I mean, I guess if I take in Barricade, maybe I can throw Banner of Valor and Banner of Strength, and Banner of Valor will protect my Banner of Strength somehow. And I can do 3 attacks of 5 at range 4, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really great. It's just, I kind of feel sad about potentially losing my banner. I know Hail of Spears has a built-in mechanism where you get recover 2 of your lost cards with banner summon abilities and immediately play them. But if you think about the sequence of events for this to have happened, is you need to first round summon a banner, second round summon another banner, third round does 3 attacks of 5 at range 4, throw the banners forward. I mean, sure, with Rallying Cry, this will be at least 1 attack of 6, which is pretty respectable. But I probably don't want to be throwing 2 banners if I don't have Banner of Valor. And if I'm not taking Banner of Doom, I kind of don't want to throw my Banner of Strength forward too much. So this is a really... every time I get to level 9 and I play with this card, I really like it. And I'm definitely taking it here. But I feel weird about it, because sometimes I don't want to throw the banner because I don't want the banner to die. Because I'm not guaranteed to kill the enemy, because on +3 the enemy has too much health. But at the same time I feel like if I'm not getting the full value out of it, I'm not having the best of times. But don't get me wrong, I think at level 9 you should take Hail of Spears, if you get there. I didn't get there in my most recent playthrough, which I feel a little bit sad about. But I think you should be definitely taking Hail of Spears, because it's just a big attack. It's a big attack at a high range. If you're playing this, you're probably playing Banner of Strength. Banner of Strength also synergizes very well with Lumberman because it gives it +1 attack. So you do become a bit of a summon guy, so that's where the Warden's Robe will come in, to help shield your summons. And yeah, you become quite a damage dealer at level 9, with a little bit of risk introduced. If you're slightly less, if you're a bit more risk averse like me, I have played with Sweeping Aid as my level 9 card, and I'm just as happy playing the supportive, versatile leader Banner Spear with tons of battle experience and no longer willing to take risks because I've seen too many of my companions fall at the enemy's feet. So there it is. So 2 hours 15 minutes and I've done all the levelings. Let's talk briefly about attack modifiers. So I think I mentioned already. Perk wise, Banner Spear has tons of good perks. You probably see in my most recent playthrough, I always go steady as she goes, which means I remove the -1 and ignore item first, and then I start to take out all of my -1s and +0s. The +1 disarm comes in quite early for me as well. I think that's very, very good. And obviously the ability to grant your ally movement is amazing. There's so many things you can do with this. You can move people onto, like long resting people onto to loot an extra token. You can move your allies closer to the objective. You can move your escorting ally closer or away from the enemies if you wish. All of these, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 are just, for me, is the mandatory take for Banner Spear. Thereafter, I think you can go anywhere. I think personally, I prefer to start taking these rolling +1s. I find the heal oneself to come in kind of not often enough and at the right moment for them to make a big difference. Whereas I also find the extra push one, I mean +2 is great, don't get me wrong. I just find the +1s better because Banner Spear, when all of the cards combined, have 31 cards in the deck, so it's a huge deck. And I really want to be drawing to these disarms more than these +2s. And the +1s help me draw into them, so I will often take the +1s first because they're rolling before the +2. What else is there? What else is there to say about the Banner Spear attack modifier deck that I haven't already said? I hate these -2s. I hate the -1. I hate these 0s. Not as much as I hate the -2. I'll say that again. I think this modifier decks will make the Banner Spear just slightly weaker as attacker. And there's so many times I draw a +1 and feel excited, then I immediately draw the -2. The -2 just seems to be everywhere I play. And there's no easy way to remove it. You can't simply take a simple charm and get rid of the -1, and then you're saving the knowledge, like with like Blink Blade, you never have to deal with a minus card ever again. That's not the case with Banner Spear. So yeah. The perk, I think overall is not bad. It's just, I wish it made the Banner Spear a better attacker. To be fair, if you do play cards like Take No Prisoners and you hit 1 million people, you do get to draw through your deck very quickly. I do also think Banner Spear suffers from inability to gain Strengthen on its own. I think if it gains Strengthen, you can get through this deck a bit quicker. I actually think it adds to the value of playing cards like Take No Prisoner. Like imagine you can Strengthen, attack 3 poison, and you can go through this deck, you can find all of your shield, you can find all of your damage cards, you can find all of your heals. You can do so much more with it. It's just, most of the time I find Banner Spear end up never drawing the right attack modifier at the right time because it's such a big deck. Granted, 11 cards are rolling, but sometimes you just roll into these minus cards and feel terrible. Like nothing worse than +1 rolling into a -1 or -2. Okay, briefly then, masteries. You should do the banner one as quickly as possible, full stop, and then you should spend that one getting either this or that one very quickly out of the gate, and get used to that. Get used to long resting. Attack at least 3 enemies with each of the 3 different abilities. This is kind of why I take Let Them Come rather than Head of the Hammer. And again, you can do that quite quickly. There are many scenarios you can get that done. I don't think these two masteries are particularly difficult that require some kind of tutorial. Go with the feel. If you've got 2 out of 3 down for the first one, try to pull off the third one, talk to your allies, get it done. I don't rate these 2 perks very highly. Into the Breach, I think self-evident wise, not great. Opening doors, I don't really want to move too far forward into the room because I just get hammered by the enemies immediately. So that's often not the right thing to do. It does allow you to run back a bit more, and sometimes that's the way to do it. But I think it's just so minimum in value. I'd rather just keep on improving my attack modifier deck. Iron Will definitely has place though. I think Iron Will, if it just said at the beginning of the round you can gain shield 2, this will be much better. The fact that it is during your turn unfortunately makes it much worse, because sometimes you just don't go fast enough for this to work. I've done so many missions with people where they think I can stand my ground on Iron Will, but then I get beaten by the priest. I take a bunch of hit, and then my Iron Will all of a sudden lost a lot of value because I've already taken half the attack from the monsters. Yeah, I feel like for 2 ticks, if only Iron Will was start of the round, that would be amazing. Yeah, I think that's it really. In terms of items, let's take a quick look of the level 1 items. Probably don't want to do too much spoilage here. I mean, for me, weighted net, fantastic. Warden's Robe, I think I talked about why this is good. Fantastic. I don't rate wing boots very highly. Like I said, if you're taking this thinking you're going to do a whole bunch of formations, on +3 you're going to get hit really hard, and you might not live long enough for those formations to pay off. If my Banner Spear is doing tanking duty, which, you know, you probably should be doing a little bit, probably start with Heater Shield and Leather Armor. That's probably good enough. But later on, definitely transition to Warden's Robe and Weighted Net to help improve your team's ability to disarm guys, immobilize guys, and protect your summons. Initiative boots, I think there are other characters that benefit better from initiative boots. I mean, there's certainly cards like Pinning Charge. Making this a 7 initiative versus 17 is great. But I don't think Banner Spear suffers too much from initiative problems. Certainly, I don't rate it very highly for the Banner Spear. I think there are other boots worth taking for the Banner Spear. Even the movement boots, making you a move 4, move 5. I think that's great. Later on, I definitely like the Spyglass. The fact that you can avoid these pesky minus cards at a critical moment is great. Simple Charm, which is not here in the next level crafting. Definitely a great card. This, probably Crude Bow deserves a special mention because some enemies do benefit from being at range 4 rather than range 3 to avoid retaliate. I'm thinking about Ice Race, which we encountered quite early on. And this is a good item to take to help you get around those retaliating attacks. Of course, things like Warhammer is fantastic, especially if you were to combine with something like your formational attacks. I mean, because this adds stun to the entire attack duration. So if you want to live precariously and get off the wagon with a Warhammer straight into a big fight, do it. I've done that before and it feels satisfying. And when you pull it off, you're congratulated like the hero you're supposed to be. But you live in the moment, whereas I live for the lifetime of suffering on +3 insane difficulty with my Banner Spear. So, I think there it is. I don't think there's much more to say. There is a playthrough of the solo quest, so I'm not going to talk too much here. If you wish to watch that on +3 difficulty, you can. I think probably a little bit of conclusion. Banner Spear, I think, is a fantastic class. I think it's often a misunderstood class. I think the misunderstanding for the Banner Spear often comes from the fact that people think the Banner Spear has to be played either fully in on the formation attacks or fully in on the range attacks, and you often find that the scenario doesn't allow you to fully utilize both halves of the Banner Spear, so you're inevitably slightly disappointed. Many people are put off by the fact that the Banner Spear, either has to communicate perfectly with your allies and friends to work the magic of the formations, or has to play meticulously against the monster AI to make sure the banners survive. And if you put out like a banner or two and then one of them gets cut down, you just feel bad and you lose a lot of your efficiency. I think that's probably just because Banner Spear is a truly an experienced Haven players class rather than a starting class. I think that's where the misunderstanding truly happens. For me, rather than thinking with the Banner Spear that way, thinking that you have to play one or the other, try playing with a bit of versatility. Try to say to yourself, I'm not going to maximize the efficiency on, on either style of my play, but rather I'm going to play to the versatility style. Do a little bit of range tag, a little bit of tanking, a little bit of formations. Find opportunities, just like a real spear master, I suppose. You're spotting for the weakness and openings in enemies' formations, and then you go in with your tag, rather than charging headlong thinking, I'm going to pull off an explosive epic center and see what happens. It does require a bit more head and a little less brawn, but hopefully with that style of play, you enjoy the Banner Sphere as much as I have. And if anything, you're always there for your friends when they need you to escort them to the nearest tavern. Anyway, there is my summary of the Banner Spear. It is a very long video. Maybe in the future I'll do a slightly shorter version of this for the other classes. But I hope you enjoyed my little commentary on the Banner Spear. And once again, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.